When heaven is described in the book of Revelation, it says there will be no night there, because we will be in the presence of God, who is light. So eternity will be a kind of endless day. Though there was night here on earth from the beginning, and human bodies need sleep and rest, our inattentiveness is not part of our nature. It is a result of the fall. In the beginning, we were awake, always awake, not necessarily physically, but emotionally, intellectually, spiritually. We were filled with awe and wonder at the beauty of creation and the wonder of our own being, at the continual and loving presence of our God. Adam and Eve were attentive to the evening breeze because they knew that somehow it signaled a daily encounter with God, who would come to walk with them in the garden. They were attentive to each other, aware of the other's needs and desires, gifts and talents. They looked closely at the creatures that shared the garden with them, learning their natures, and could have described with perfection each fruit from the trees, each vegetable from the earth. They were attentive to the passing of days and seasons, watching how things grew, cultivating the garden with care and love and delight. They were fully awake. Their senses didn't dim their intellect. Their desires didn't overshadow their knowledge. Their healthy love for their own lives didn't compete with their love for the other or for God. They were awake. They watched for the signs of God's presence in each moment, paid attention to one another, knew the animals by name. And it wasn't tiring for them. It was thrilling, life giving, joyous. They were awake the way you and I are in moments of awe filled wonder, when we see the northern lights dance across the night sky, or when we look up at the sky from somewhere in the country and see billions of stars in one glance, or when we hold a newborn baby, or when we are expecting someone we love to arrive from a journey. That is how we were created to live, in joyful expectation, knowing each moment, each thing, each person is a gift to be cherished, a revelation of God's love, expecting a revelation from everything and everyone, attentive and delighted in the true deep down goodness of everything and everyone. Today, Jesus invites us to wake up, to live this Advent in hopeful expectation, to pay attention today and each day to all the marvelous manifestations of the goodness of each person, each thing, each moment.
So, very much a meditation on what it was like before the fall. The fall darkened our intellect and our senses, but we still have moments of being aware of the goodness of God. God kind of awakens our heart to little things. Kind of coincidental. They talked about the Northern Lights, got to see those a couple of nights ago. Amy talked about a new grandbaby. We have delightful times that we can be awake, and that's what he's suggesting our Advent is all about, to be awake to those moments. So you can make comments on the reflection, or you can answer one of the three questions that are there. And I kind of already said something, and just open it up to others' comments.
Well, I love these kind of theological reflections because it's like uh, Father John Ricardo's taking what he knows about original justice and the effects of original sin and giving us these interesting little tidbits of what it may have been like for Adam and Eve. And I was talking with someone else about this, and I said it's not like they were just zoned out on looking at a tree, but they would look at a tree and be able to see the beauty and the majesty of a God who created such a thing that would give them fruit, and just where we might just walk by all of these trees and not even give it a second thought because we're so caught up in things. And that's kind of what the reflection reminded me of.
Yeah, I was just gonna say something similar to Father Terry. I was driving out to a friend's place along the river the other night, and it was dark, and you couldn't see much going down this road to his place, and then the moon like came out from behind the clouds a little bit, and I don't know, it was like mic drop moment for God, you know. I thought, I just was like, wow, this right here is like what they try and make happen in movies. So it just was a moment of gratitude, and I think that's and I think it helped me actually be more present, like, you know, to my friend. Like, I was more awake because of it.
Mm-hmm.
Reflecting on question number 3, this is kind of silly, but do you ever like sit by a window and you see the light beaming through and you see kind of like the dust particles? And so I had that moment one day when I came home from lunch, and yeah, just it caught my attention as those tiny little dust particles kind of float in that beam of light, and it kind of gives you the chills thinking about the immensity of the world and how small we really are. But
You brought me back to being a kid and doing that a lot in my house growing up, where I had nothing to do but look at the sunbeam with the dust.
I know, and honestly, like, my life has just been chaos. I just feel like we've been running, so to have that moment is kind of cool, because yeah, I haven't had one of those moments in a while.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever read the cartoon called Hi and Lois?
Yes.
They had the little baby child who always had a friend called Sunbeam.
Yep. I remember that.
You know, the trick for me, Becca, is having lived in the chaos like what you are, is not bringing that chaos to me now when I'm not living in it as much, if that makes sense. You know, I don't have the life of 4 kids in the house anymore, and that sense of, oh, I can stop and recognize this. And it's been like a retraining for me that, oh, work doesn't have to consume me, or, oh, I can stop and sit and drink my coffee instead of run, or, oh, I can really retrain myself to really dive into the mass and not be worried about the Cheerios on the floor. So I think I'm just kind of relearning in a different way again how to do that, as compared to like recognizing this special moment with the you know, like something cute the kids did or something amazing. Or like the other day I saw Elena sent me a picture of Rose, and she had her fingers in her mouth, which is a developmental stage. Like, oh, that's great. You know, like I noticed that. And just like sitting in that more instead of worrying about what I'm going to make for supper, you know, like letting it be a 25-second pause instead of a 3-second pause, because my life isn't in 3 seconds increments anymore. So and I think for me, one of the questions was, what are things, the habits, desires, sins that make you spiritually or emotionally drowsy? I think that's that was a drowsiness of sorts, the rapidity, how fast life was going. So I'm just trying to slow down and recognize the sun. So
I love that. Something that's kind of draining is we live in this world where we're constantly plugged into technology. I was just saying, as my phone was like going off and off and off with text messages, I'm like, oh, and then you feel this pull that you have to respond right away, and you're constantly living in that. So to answer that question, that would be my thing that kind of drains me emotionally, is always being plugged into some kind of technology.
It's interesting. I'm listening to the two of you, and there is a part of me that would love to be at Kelly and Becca's on Christmas morning and watch those kids tear into their gifts and everything. I grew up with most of my junior high and teen years with all my much older brothers and sisters bringing their families home for Christmas morning, and we had 30 plus people with 100 or so presents, and it was just heaven for one morning, and it was chaos, but it's also spiritually and emotionally draining for me to wish I was still there. And that's a nice past, but what's going on now? And to notice the things that Amy was mentioning, and to appreciate what you have now. And yes, I absolutely love Sue and Me and Maria on Christmas morning. It's my favorite thing. But also, just life can be, when it's slower, you have the opportunity to appreciate it more.
So we're at the beginning of Advent now, first Sunday, and we're challenged to see these spiritual delights throughout all of Advent, if we can. And even as that second question talks about, we all have our habits, desires, and sins, things that make us emotionally drowsy. But yet, in all that, to somehow see the goodness of God in it all. I think most of you, maybe not all of you, heard about Twyla Roman's grandchild who died. I think Bishop spoke at it at all the confirmation, all the masses he was at.
Oh, that was Twyla's. I didn't know that was.
Was that recent?
Yeah, she died on a Saturday night. So he got the call that she took a turn for the worse on Saturday after the masses. So he asked me about, he wanted to leave, Friday night. He wanted to leave Saturday as quick as he could after the server mass to get up there. And the little girl who wanted to see her grandparents in heaven and wanted to have first communion, well, she got both wishes. She died so she could go to heaven, and Bishop gave her, in an interesting way, first communion through an IV, through precious blood, and then she died later. She died Saturday night, like right minute before midnight or something like that. And he confirmed her too. And so Bishop talked about both the sadness, but the beauty of it all. It was a God moment for sure. No matter who we are, or what we're doing, or what our state of life is, or what's going on in our heart during Advent, we should seek out those delightful things that we're in the light, we're spiritual delights. Seek them out during Advent and celebrate them.